Hello friends, I just wanted to give you a quick tour of the Brook, Cherith, this location here that some of you have been involved with, supporting and praying for. So I just wanted to give you a quick tour of what is the Brook, Cherith and how is it right now. This is the road that you approach it from, driving up. On the right you see the igloo, as I affectionately call it, and the prep building, things that go with the operating area, the new triage tent right there. And then right here is the security shack for security, especially with all the traffic that's going to be coming in, making sure people are acting properly in the very chaotic situations. And then here is the triage area, the drop-off area where most of the patients will be brought to. And also their first introduction that this is a medical mission center prepared for them. And also, as you can see, a sign with instructions in case of rapture, where they can get additional information on how to get it started and get going. Now this area right here gives them plenty of room to drop off the patients, figure out where they need to go, and then really this is the nexus that determines all the different points where they will go from here. Here's triage right behind us, the entrance there. Down that way is the patient wing, the library, expectant, which is also called hospice, and then where the future delay tent is going to go is right there, with its own landing. If we go over here real quickly, right here we can see the site's already prepared for the new delayed tent. It's going to be the second largest tent that we have, 12 by 20 feet, so it's going to be a huge room which will handle the backlog of delayed patients who have to wait until they can be shown into the immediate treatment area, and those with the most pressing needs and the highest priorities for life-threatening care, they will go into immediate first. So a lot of patients are going to be delayed, which means they have to be parked somewhere, but also where they can be monitored and assessed periodically too and be taken care of. Here's the minimal tent, where those with minimal, basically first aid and just minor care, will be brought. You can see there's 2 stations for taking care of them, a few supplies that they need. Supply cabinets over there, a good generous sink for washing off hand wash and also injuries for the patients too as well. A little privacy area for those who have more involved injuries that require a little more discretion. Some more supplies over there. So this is the minimal tent, and this is a 10 by 17 size tent, but you can see a lot is squeezed into this area. Then right over here is the public restroom. There are several other private restroom areas, mainly for the staff and patients, but this at least gives a lot of place for the drivers and patients' family and those dropping them off to come to. And it's basically a fancy porta potty, but it does have running water and makes a very good changing room too under the circumstances, a place where they can go get their breath, and nice clean place for them, but also helps relieve some of the congestion that's going to be in the other areas. Okay, walking back toward triage, the more serious patients will be handled over here. And so obviously they're going to be dropped off and assessed. Some of the more critical injuries will be assessed here in the triage area. This area has a nice sliding door that easily opens, so they can be brought in and assessed at 2 different stations that we have right now. They could also be divided off by a privacy curtain. Plenty of emergency supplies specific for the triage tasks of assessing whether the patient should go into delayed, or are they requiring more immediate life-threatening situations that require more immediate care. And if so, then they will be going straight into either surgery or try to be handled here as well. So this is almost an overflow of the surgery room, and this really is the immediate area also. Immediate treatment can be given here to a degree. Here's the main workstation. Also helps keep a lot of things organized for the forms for the patients, and just help keep them on task for the records, especially immediately as they come in. They can have a clerk or a volunteer and assist the medical personnel, just make sure all that's filed and recorded and then handed off to the records office. Hand wash sink over here, additional bulk supplies that they'll be going through. And then right here is the prep OR. If the patient requires more invasive surgery, whatnot, they will be brought into this area. And just looking back real quick, here's the triage area as a whole. It's 10 by 20, so a generous amount of space, level platform. It is amazing how the Lord has significantly upgraded this from what it was only a month ago. Completely, almost unrecognizable. But in here, in the igloo area now is where we are starting to enter. This is a much better controlled environment for the surgeries or more invasive procedures. This used to be the prep triage area room right here, just squeezed into this little room, but now this room has effectively been moved out to the triage area where multiple patients, 2, maybe even 3, can be treated at one time. So now that frees this area up for an observation area and just a staging area for those about to go into surgery. They got their own hand wash sink here, janitorial closet, whiteboard, and just a good amount of space for supplies that they need. Some of these carts will be moved into triage when they're ready to go. They got their crash cart right here. Going this way goes into the actual operating room. On either side is the clean utility room, which just keeps a number of supplies close at hand that they will likely and most often use in the operating room. So I just want to keep it close at hand. And then the soiled utility room, just where they clean up a lot of the soiled utilities, rinse them off, especially before handing them off to processing. We're coming into the operating room. It's a generous amount of room. Their overall room is about 15 feet wide. They got a generous hand wash sink, air conditioner that can be run to as well. Plenty of lights, an articulating table for the arms. These can be moved and adjusted. And just different supplies that they need. The Lord has provided a wealth of medical instruments and equipment that will be greatly used and greatly expand this clinic's and the operating capacity beyond just first or second aid. They can really do some incredible life-saving treatments here and drastically buy some people some very valuable time and save many lives. So heading on out, so once a patient leaves the OR or leaves the immediate area, once they've been treated, maybe they need to be observed for a while or maybe wait for their family, then they may be brought to the patient wing. So they'll be brought this way. Now here's the landing for delayed tent. Once it is built, it's going to have a nice generous entrance way into it, facilitate the flow of the patients who are awaiting treatment. But then also up here is the expectant hospice tent for the patients who are brought to triage, and they realize that there's really nothing that we can do for them because of the circumstances, or really they're not going to survive regardless of what treatment they get, just because of where they're at and their condition. So they will be brought here and be given comfort care. And so this area has 2 medical beds that could be adjusted, help make breathing easier and just make their overall situation much easier. There's staging room for gurneys right now, just extra room where that one's being parked right now into delayed tents. But there's also some temporary room where those who are pretty much gone can be brought here and parked as well. So you can squeeze in 5 if really pressed to the gurney into this area. This particular tent is 12 by 17. So it's a little bit wider, which definitely gives more maneuverability with the gurneys, but it is shorter too. And they have a degree of privacy curtains and just supplies to help make them comfortable, their own fan and ventilation and some supplies. And Lord willing, we'll get a sink in here too as well one day. So some patients unfortunately will be brought this way. But then over here is the patient wing, where those who are brought out of either surgery or even just immediate treatment, they will be brought here. They got a nice generous landing here for maneuvering the gurneys particularly, but just gives the family or their guests and friends just a place to hang out and catch their breath and just think too before actually going into the patient wing. Let's go in there. This is the largest facility here at the Brook Cherith. It's the longest, but believe it or not, it's only 10 feet wide, the entire structure, but it's about 60 feet long. Here's the primary nurses station, all the forms that they will ever need, and different supplies and equipment to keep track, reminders to the visitors. Everybody here will be a volunteer. Everybody's going to be new. So there's going to unfortunately be a lot of on-the-job training, just getting oriented to this new place, the limits of it, along with their situation as well. There's a restroom here and a hand wash station, so staff can keep clean as possible, but also the patients and their visiting families have a place to go. It's not as accessible as the public restroom, but it does keep a place close at hand. A water cooler and just some immediate supplies that the nurses will use just in the wound care and just care for the patients after they've gone through surgery and they're waiting in here. Now these are modified beds, basically cots, so it's not intended for long-term care, just short-term care until their family can come pick them up and take them home, or other arrangements can be made, particularly with this whole facility really being a short-term facility. The whole idea is that they are organizing, or at least the community is organizing, a better place for long-term care, more comfortable beds, better accommodations in these narrow quarters here. But this is a stopgap. This whole clinic is a stopgap. It's really only going to last a week. Probably it's not ideal for long-term use, but it's going to be a very important stopgap measure for the first 24 hours, 36 hours, 74 hours, 72 hours. Just the first few days when everything hits the fan, they're going to need to have these type of facilities ready to go immediately, particularly with the level of chaos and anarchy and just the sudden destruction that coming. They won't have time to set up a clinic once that starts, so they need to have a place that's already ready and a place that has been built in mind that sudden destruction is coming and that there's going to be disruption of the normal services such as electrical and water. So that's one of the main benefits of this clinic, is that it is made anticipating sudden destruction, and it helps buy them time, once it does happen, buy them time to make a more suited facility. So this has a 6-bed capacity, and you could squeeze in one more gurney if you had to. So they definitely have plenty of space in here. And then here in the back is the workroom. Just a lot of supplies that the nurses will use particular to this area. And on one half is the soiled, where all the dirty laundry goes, and then on the other half is all the clean supplies, supply cabinet, and just a lot of bulk linens and things like that that just take up a lot of space, pillows. And they have an entrance for resupply in the back here, and just keeping all these things separate. So that's the back here of the patient wing. Again, this is the largest tent here, and you can imagine that it's going to have a number of people in here, particularly when you start doing the numbers of considering the patients, their guests, their drivers who are dropping them off, the medical staff that's going to be here too. There's going to be about 60 to 80 people here in just this little temporary clinic just right here on the grounds for this. So there's a lot of supply needs, a lot of infrastructure needs, water, electrical, that come into mind. Now right here, this building here is just the clinic and storeroom. It really doesn't store much, but if we ever do get more bulk supplies, they will be stored there. Right now, most everything has been put out to the different areas, making sure every area is well stocked. Now this place right here is sterilized. Sometimes hospitals will call it central processing. Basically where all the soiled instruments and equipment are brought and cleaned up and sterilized here. Now there's two windows here. This one here is a pickup window where they can pick up clean instruments and pick them up here at this window. But anything that's been soiled, they will bring in a transfer container to this window and drop them off there, and they will be processed and washed immediately inside there. So there's a lot of compartmentalization, there's a lot of protocols that are still observed even in this very redneck situation, and that's what's important. As long as you follow the protocols to the best of your ability, you can offer a high level of care under the circumstances. Here's the sterilized area where, again, they'll be brought to this window over here, washed, and it's amazing the transformation that this room has had lately. I'm trying to show it to you all because it's really cramped in here. But all the washing and disinfecting, sanitizing, all that takes place on that half of the room. And then once they are thoroughly safe, then they are switched over to this side of the room and actually prepared for sterilizing and autoclaving. And there's a wide variety of supplies that they have over there. They have their own clean sink in here too as well for hand washing. So again, keeping everything separate, keeping the areas separate. So part of the protocols of delivering a high level of care under the circumstances, it's still very much possible. So let's turn around, let's go this way, cut through this area, and now we're back at the main area, the main walkway. Just a degree of ramps, and it's nice and covered, so if it does rain or just the wind and the elements, definitely helps them transport the patients to the patient wing completely under cover. Then over here is more of the administrative side of things. The kitchen is this yellow building right here, and then the inn is where the cafeteria is. It's really a staff only area where they can get a chance to catch their breath, get away from the situation, fill out reports, and just other things that they need to do, mainly just preserving their sanity, probably will be in that room. And then that way, this way here, takes them to the library. Right there's a maintenance shed. The library, just the little foyer, is a nice bulk supply room that the Lord's helped fill up. And then right through here is the library, part of the records where the patient records are kept and organized, all done right here. But then this is kind of going to be the incident command room right here for the administrators, just keeping track of the different areas, divided among the different team leaders and area leaders. This is going to be the main room where it all happens. Right in here. And then this door leads to the cafeteria, where you'll recognize this big poster, Heavens Declare, reminding them of the time, Jupiter at the feet, near the feet, treading on the enemy. But this is the cafeteria. Spacious, roomy, comfortable, and with a soothing environment. I could set up a lot of food here on the table where there's presently posters set up. Coffee and water set up over there. Then in here is the kitchen, and it's been outfitted to handle the large number of people who will be coming through here. Again, there's going to be several dozen people that are going to have to be fed. Patients, a number of workers, volunteers that are also helping out too. So a lot of food preparation needs to be done. And nice thing about the way that this kitchen is set up, the way the Lord set it up, is it can entirely be run if power is off. It could be run on battery power. The gas stove will allow them to still cook even if power is out. So a lot of considerations of their situation, but there is a generator that can run the minimum the appliances and the major things even under those circumstances too. The Lord has allowed the pantry to definitely be bolstered from what it was, with the free freezer that's right there too, and that's completely filled up. So there's a lot of supplies. They'll definitely buy them time, especially for the first few days. They're not going to have to necessarily be worrying about where their next meal is coming from. They'll be able to have a dedicated team that all they do is fix meals and allow the medical staff to focus on what they do best. So this is the kitchen. And here's the cafeteria. And they have plenty of material. As you can see, there are many of our books that the ministry has produced that the Lord has orchestrated. They'll be able to see how both these go together. An understanding of the time led to the creation of this place and how the Lord orchestrated it on their behalf. And so they will be able to see the testimony of both. The testimony of God's word, prophecy, the celestial heavens, what it has declared, but then also the testimony itself of the book Cherith. Just the fact that it is here alone is a testament to what the Lord has been doing. This backside of the hospice, where the future delay tent is going to go. Which brings us back to the triage area, the start, which is, again, it's amazing to consider that this whole landing area here wasn't even here a month ago. It's incredible to see what the Lord is doing at these late hours. We see so much evidence of that right here. It's a testimony to us, testimony of what the Lord has done, and Lord willing, it will be a testimony in the days ahead of what the Lord is continuing to do. May the Lord bless you, and may the Lord use this place for His glory. Maranatha.